What's up, everybody? Today we're back with another review, and that is for the new game Atomfall that just came out. It's a post-nuclear disaster RPG. It's kind of an RPG. I mean, it is right. It's defined as an RPG, but it's set in northern England after the Windscale nuclear disaster, which was a real disaster where there's a fire at a nuclear plant. But this is a fictional take on it, and so you essentially you wake up in this military base, and you go into this world, and you're in this quarantine zone that has it's like a field over top of it, like a force field almost. This interference field that comes from the Windscale nuclear plant. And your whole thing is you kind of don't really know how you got there or necessarily even 100% who you are. But you have to go through the story, and the whole point of the story is to find a way to get out of the quarantine zone and away from the wind scale zone. And so this is like a semi-open world. There's different areas, and it's a non-linear story, but like one of the main areas is Wyndham Village, and then you have to go through these big doors out of the village into other areas, and then there's the underground base called the Interchange. And anytime you go into the interchange or into one of the other areas above ground, there's a loading screen. So each of these areas is open to explore. That's why I said it's semi-open world, but you have loading screens, and they're relatively small areas. And so it's a Northern England post-nuclear disaster RPG, semi-open world. It's by Rebellion, the makers of Sniper Elite, and none of their levels are super big. And as far as I know, they've never made a complete open world game. The graphics are very much the same as Sniper Fall, and quality wise. And we'll talk more about that when we go through our normal pros, cons, and so-sos. And there is a lot of freedom to make this your own thing with different choices of events, responses, etc. All in all, I thought it was an enjoyable game. Of course, we'll give the rating at the end after we go through everything. And on Steam, it's $40. On the other platforms, I think it's or no, it's $50 on Steam. I think it's 60 on the other platforms. But I think it was worth the money. Anyways, we're gonna go through our cons, our so-sos, and our pros in that order as we usually do on these reviews. So starting off with cons, there's no player character voice. I was gonna say not even in cutscenes, but I guess you don't have any true cutscenes. But when you uh, when you when you have dialogue, you can choose your responses, which is something I love, and we'll talk about in the pros. But none of the responses are voiced, and if you've watching my reviews, you know that's always a bugaboo of mine to not have the responses voiced. I know it's a lot of extra voice lines, especially because the conversations can go in different ways, but it's just something that I like, and I would happily have had this be $60 on Steam instead of 50 to have that change because I just really like it. Another con is there's no environmental changes, so no different lighting. The days don't progress time wise. It's never morning, afternoon, evening, night, early morning. It's never any of that. There's no weather change. So it's never rainy or sunny, cloudy, nothing. It's just there is one lighting, one weather, one time of day, the entire game. And I just like, especially when you could spend 30 hours in this game if you wanted to, exploring everything, finding all the little side stuff, just having fun, and there's no environmental changes. It can get a little repetitive and boring. And then finally, under a con, and this is kind of a big one, I thought it felt dated. The graphics, which we'll talk more about, but the graphics felt dated. Some of the mechanics just felt dated. It felt like this game came out somewhere in like 2018 to 2020, and here we are in 2025. It's not unplayable for sure. I mean, I do my single player Sundays on Twitch, link down below, and I play games that are from that era, right? And like that doesn't make them not enjoyable. It's just when I'm spending 50 or in console cases $60 on a brand new game, I'd like it to feel like it's of the era. So not a huge con. I mean, none of those cons are really huge cons. Overall, I actually really like this game, so the cons aren't too big of deals. Moving on to the so-sos, the game gives you a choice, especially on difficulty level. You have it be guided or not guided, and this would be under pros, except I put it under so-so. Because when you have guided mode on, it's not super abundantly clear all the time, which is fine. And I actually do like, and we'll talk about the pros, that things aren't always so obvious. But if you have a guided mode, I think it should be like very obvious for people that just want to have it guided. I played it on the middle difficulty. The recommended one is the second hardest when you go start a new game. I played it on the medium difficulty just because I don't like to sweat single player games too much. And it has guiding on it. Now, maybe if you go on easier, the guiding's more obvious, but the guiding system was so-so. The next so-so we have is the graphics. The graphics look good. I mean, they look fine, but they're not like mind-blowing. And going along with the dated thing, it feels very much like late 2010s, 2020-ish. And this is once again a 2025 game. And so I'm not looking for hyper-realistic, high detail, ultra beautiful games. But maybe something that feels like it's from 2023, 2024, because we are in 2025 now. But the graphics were a little disappointing, and it contributed to the dated feeling of this game. But again, not a huge deal. That's why in the so-sos, because like environmentally, things still look nice. There's decent detail when you're up close. It just isn't like mind-blowing graphics. It just feels a little bit dated. But the graphics aren't horrible, so that's why it's in the so-sos and not the cons. In the so-sos, also, we have the stamina system, which in this game goes by heart rate. And if your heart rate goes too high and you keep it too high, your health starts to deteriorate, which is fine. But it just feels like something we're going to talk about soon is there's no fast travel or vehicles. So for having to be on foot the whole time and have a lot of backtracking, it would be nice to have a little more stamina. It's not a huge deal, but running out of stamina can be really painful, especially when you have a long way to run. And then our next so-so is loading screens. I don't mind loading screens. I didn't put them in the cons because if loading screens means the game will run better in certain areas and have better performance, and they can add a little more detail, which this game already feels dated, so you definitely need that, then the loading screens are fine. It's just disappointing in a semi-open world game in 2025 to have loading screens that aren't kind of just like fade black, fade back out, fade in and out black really quick. It's a legit loading screen, and it kind of contributes to the dated feeling. But I didn't put this in cons because if it means those areas will perform better or have more detail or more side quests or more collectibles, then I can deal with loading screens for sure. And finally, the so-so is no fast travel or vehicles. This would be in the cons, but the world isn't super big. Like I said, these sections aren't huge, and it really forces you to kind of explore the world they created. And so it's not the worst thing in the world. It would just be nice when I got to go all the way across one section, all the way across another section, and then into another section of the map that maybe I could just fast travel a little bit or have vehicles. But there's also like no working vehicles in this game anyways. So, I mean, it makes sense, but there's robots, but there's whatever. And so those are the so-sos. And finally, the pros. First of all, is I always like when there's choices in your responses for dialogue, and it's not just one dialogue. It's not just cutscenes with hard dialogue. I like when games give you a way to make it your own experience, and this game definitely does that with the response choices. And then on top of that, the response choices will determine things later, like how conversations go, events in the game, etc. And so I like that it's like choose your own adventure. Another pro is that things aren't too obvious. Now, I thought about putting this in the so-sos, but that's part of the identity of this game. Like, you can find notes pinned to walls that will give you coordinates, or audio recordings that give you coordinates, or give you hints, or it'll say like, I saw this something happen around this building, and then you got to go find that building. So once again, it leaves a lot of agency to the players in going about how you go about the game. Without just like holding your hand and making you do things. And it once again makes you explore the world a little bit. Another pro that we have is the performance on this game was actually really good. I had it on ultra settings, and I have a 3080 and a 9800 X3D, and that's 64 gigabytes of RAM. So like I have a fairly strong PC, but I was getting 130 frames on ultra settings while recording and streaming. So I really can't complain. The performance was great. I didn't have areas where it felt like things would lag or textures would take a while to load. It just felt like things were in ultra quality the whole time, and it never went up and down. No freezes, no crashes. Everything went really well while playing Atomfall. And a lot of new games these days, it seems like some corners are cut and you get texture loading issues, or I'll get a game crash, especially the first day. I played like 7+ hours, which tells you, that tells you enough what I think about the game. But I played like 7+ hours day one. No crashes, no big frame drops, nothing. The game performed really well. And that might be part of it feeling dated and the graphics feeling dated that help it perform well. And I would rather have, it not be dated. But the performance was great. I can't complain. Like I said, no crashes, no freezes, no random frame drops, high frames the whole time. It was great. Then the next thing I have is that you can take down anyone, and by take down I literally mean kill them. So, you know, like I said, it's like a choose your own adventure. There's multiple endings, but you know, the whole point of it is escaping the zone, and somebody that might be able to help you escape, you could just take them down. And not like part of a choice in a dialogue, you could literally just walk up behind them, hit the button to take them down, kill them. They're no longer part of the story. And actually, I might have to go back and see what happens if you just kill everybody. Well, no, because there is still one way out. Never mind. But the ability to just like alter the story by killing somebody who could help you out of the zone, I like, because once again it goes down that whole like choose your adventure, player agency, unique experience part that I really like. And then finally is that there's multiple endings, and that kind of coincides with the response choices, your choices of your actions, which I didn't put on there, and being able to literally just eliminate any characters that could help you. You can, you know, I actually only had 2.5 endings. I had one ending that actually wasn't an ending. I still had to go complete another ending. And my playthrough, I'll link that down below, the playlist for the playthrough on my other channel. But the fact that there's multiple endings, you know, I saved right before I did an ending and I went back into the other endings, and it's just like gives you more replay value, or even just do what I did, save and go see the other endings, and it's just more entertainment. So I really enjoyed that. And so overall, I really actually enjoyed Atomfall. It wasn't a mind-blowing game, but it was enough that I beat it within. It came out on a Thursday. I was done Friday afternoon. And so I really enjoyed myself. I'm not super familiar with the Fallout series, but I don't get it as a like Fallout, because it's just not fully open world. It's not as like survival, although there is a lot of survival to it. You know, it's not easy to find meds or ammo. And you know, you got to be stealthy. You got to take on these big groups of enemies, and that can be tough as well. But overall, I don't really see it as a British Fallout. It's kind of it's more of its own thing. It's not, you know, it's not fully open world. It's not like nuclear war, post like nuclear war. And so I don't get that comparison, but I do really think it is a fun RPG esque game, and definitely worth trying out. Definitely worth the money, in my opinion. I'd give it like a 6.5 or a 7 out of 10. Like I said, it's not mind blowing. If it didn't feel so dated, maybe it'd be up to a 7.5 or an 8. I think it's a really good game, and definitely a game worth trying. But those are my thoughts on Atomfall. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you like this type of content and want to see it first. And comment down below what you think of Atomfall or my thoughts on it. And I will see you in the next video. Have a good day. Bye. Okay, we're not gonna fight all of them.
Off with you! Come on then! Time to sort this out.
Oh shit, they all got bullets. Oh, I'm dead. I'm dead. Just want to beat him up. Beat him up, beat him up, beat him up. I'm guessing it was right over there. Back here. Don't like that there's skeletons, at least rib cages.